This footage released Friday by the IDF shows the result of nonstop attacks designed to eliminate Hamas's complex underground system. Joining me now is Dr. Daphne Richman-Barak, tunnel warfare expert. She's a tunnel warfare expert and adjunct scholar at the Modern War Institute at West Point. I'm glad to welcome you back to this broadcast. It was extraordinary talking with you the last time and the level of information that you shared with us. To you now, how is Israel going about destroying these tunnels? Does the IDF, first of all, work off of maps gathered through intelligence, or is it through other means? Are there maps that can show you exactly where these tunnels are?
It's nice to be back. Thank you for having me. What we see in the last couple of days is really an attempt by the IDF to try to get more information and get closer to this very vast underground military system that Hamas has built over the past 20 years. Israel is tracking slowly but methodically parts of the tunnel network that it knows about in the hope of exposing perhaps areas that it doesn't know about, in the hope of disrupting the communication of Hamas inside the tunnels if parts of the tunnel network are destroyed, and also in the hope of gathering intelligence, finding information, perhaps maps of these tunnels, as was recently reported, that would help Israel get to the part of the tunnel network that it's less familiar with, or where it might also, that it might also not know about.
So we know that at least some of the hostages, potentially most, are being held underground. Has Israeli intelligence been able to pinpoint where they are to ensure they don't attack those areas, or would Hamas presume that and thereby move weapons, move communications, move important things they need near the hostages?
The intelligence that the IDF has about the tunnel network of Hamas is intelligence that has been gathered and amassed in the last couple of years since the latest operations. So this is something that has been really very much a work in progress. However, the hostage situation is different because it's something that's very new, and whatever intelligence the IDF might have, it would have to be something that it has been able to figure out really since the operation began, since the attacks began. It's important to understand that tunnels really blind the IDF in a sense with respect to intelligence gathering. It's very difficult to know where Hamas is, where the hostages might be inside the tunnel network. Are they together? Are they spread out over this entire network, which I presume is the case? And then try to get intelligence about that. But again, your traditional intelligence gathering techniques do not work when it comes to the underground. So the IDF would have to be very creative and achieve what is pretty much mission impossible, which is to know what is going on below ground.
So is there the expectation of hand-to-hand combat inside these tunnels, or is Israel trying to destroy them to avoid that kind of warfare?
There are three ways of destroying the tunnels once you've actually, got to know where they are and where you can really strike them to the most efficient level. One method is from the air, and this is what states have typically done against tunnel threats, using powerful weapons that penetrate the ground and have a very large radius in order to strike as much as possible of the tunnel network. Then the other option is to do this from the surface. So this would explain why the IDF is currently inside the Gaza Strip, trying to also address the tunnel threat from the ground, but not necessarily by going inside the tunnels. Now, the third option is to go inside the tunnels, and this is something that really should be done only as a method of last resort, potentially, as you said, to go and rescue the hostages. This is something that the IDF will probably postpone, but soldiers might be right now entering areas of the tunnels that are presumably safer to allow entry of the IDF and to, again, gather intelligence about the rest of the network.
Given the nature of these tunnels, how long can someone stay in the tunnel and remain healthy?
So, Alex, you and I would not be able to stay there for a very long time. It's very difficult to sustain life in the tunnels, inside the tunnels. First of all, if you haven't planned it a long time ahead in terms of how much electricity you might have, fuel, food, anything that you need, water to retain, to sustain life underground. But also, like, a regular human being would not be able to bear these difficult, these harsh conditions, these confined places, this darkness, this claustrophobia. It would be very difficult. What we see is that Hamas has been doing it for a month already. And we can expect that they have what it takes to, both in terms of training and in terms of supplies, in order to last much longer than that. But this is the result of serious training and you know, just having been underground for extended periods of time in the past. This is something that most forces, even special forces, would find extremely difficult to do.
I can imagine. Okay, Daphne Richman Barak, it's good to talk with you. I know we'll be speaking with you again. Thank you.